Max, the king of all wild things, was lonely and wanted to be where someone loved him best of all. Then, all around, from all across the world, he smelled good things to eat. So he gave up being king of where the wild things are. But the wild things cried, "Oh, please don't go. We'll eat you up, we love you so." Mermaids. What little girl doesn't love mermaids? And why wouldn't we? From a young age, we're shown so many examples of these beautiful half-fish princesses who get to live in the ocean. From potentially the most famous, Disney's Little Mermaid Ariel, to Madison from Splash, to Barbie, to the mermaids from Hook with the unnatural hair colors who in no way shaped my future aesthetic when I watched that movie as a kid. From a young age, we're shown these mythical, beautiful creatures, saving handsome men from drowning and being ultimately saved from cruel fates due to their good and kind hearts. But this kind of benevolent mermaid is actually a fairly new concept. So what if I told you that today we weren't talking about the new sweet mermaids, but the old school human-devouring, shipwrecking monster mermaids? And what if I then told you that's not all, we're talking about gay cannibal mermaids? Sounds like a good time, right? Hi y'all, welcome to the Horror Diner. If you're returning to the Horror Diner, hey you, welcome back. We missed you and we're so happy to see you again. But if you happen to have come to the diner for the very first time, we're delighted you decided to give our little establishment a try. Let me give you a little bit of the rundown on how it works around here. I'm Spooky Pie, your waitress, your chef, and your new friend who's going to sit down and talk about horror with you. Here at the Horror Diner, we talk about any kind of horror media you can think of. Books, movies, podcasts, video games, TV shows. That strange shape you can only see out of the corner of your eye but disappears whenever you turn to look at it. It's fine. Don't look behind you. Look at me. Everything's going to be okay. Anyway, if it's any kind of horror media, then you best believe it's on the table. But wait, there's more. Every episode, we also cook up a little something that goes with the piece of media we're talking about. Sometimes we luck out and the work either mentions specific dishes or has a clear theme that can translate into food. And other times, we have to get a bit creative, but either way, it's going to taste great and we'll get to enjoy it together. So a few weeks ago, I was wasting my life on the internet, as is my wont, and I was randomly suggested an article titled "Queer Supernatural Anime is Having a Moment Right Now," which gave me pause, because to my knowledge, queer horror anime is kind of a rare beast, with the only current one on my radar being The Summer Hikaru Died, and yes, before you ask, I do plan to make a video on that. So anyway, I was of course curious. I clicked the article and immediately was in a chokehold, because after talking about The Summer Hikaru Died, it went on to talk about a new sapphic anime about a gay cannibal mermaid. Say less, I'm already there. So now you might be thinking, wow, Spooky, what's your deal with lesbian cannibals? Your channel isn't even that old and it's the second video you've made about them. Shout out to my second ever video on Possibly in Michigan. And I don't know. As I've mentioned in my Patreon exclusive book club videos, I sure watch/read a lot of cannibal media for a vegetarian. I don't know what to tell you. With that preamble aside, today we'll be digging into Watashi wa Tabetai Hitodenashi, or as it's known by its localized name, This Monster Wants to Eat Me. And today we're going to be covering both the manga and the anime. The manga currently has 5 translated volumes available domestically, with 11 finished volumes currently, and the anime, as of recording this video, is being simulcast with the final episode airing on December 25th, making it count as my Christmas episode! Yay! If anyone was expecting Christmas to get the same treatment on my channel that Halloween did, I'm very sorry. I'm not the biggest Christmas person. Also, there's not really much in the way of Christmas horror that I would want to cover, with the only piece of media I could possibly do a critical analysis of being the original Black Christmas. But there are already a bunch of well-thought-out and nuanced video essays on Black Christmas and its feminist reading. And I don't think I have anything to add to that conversation that hasn't been said already, potentially better than I could have said it. But also, come on, you know you want to hear about the gay cannibal mermaid anime. But before we get into that, let's head over to the kitchen and get you something to eat that I promise is not people. So in a surprising turn of events, I actually didn't have to rack my brain too hard for what to make for this episode, because I remembered a couple years ago I'd made mermaid marshmallow pie and it was a big hit and looked cute. If that sounds familiar, it's probably because you've seen the movie or musical Waitress. Anywho, that's what we're going with today, because the mermaid video gets a mermaid recipe. So let's get cooking. You will need 1 8-ounce package of cream cheese at room temperature, 1/2 cup chilled heavy cream, 6 tablespoons melted butter. No, I am not showing it melted, it's not aesthetic. Join the melted butter tier on Patreon if you want to see that sort of thing. Moving on. 1 cup drained crushed pineapple, 1 14-ounce can sweetened condensed milk, 1 cup drained mandarin oranges, 1 teaspoon vanilla extract, a pinch of salt, 1 3/4 cup shortbread cookie crumbs, 1 cup flaked coconut, 3/4 cup pecan pieces, and of course, rainbow marshmallows. If you're a vegetarian like me, make sure to pay attention to the ingredients list on these. Most marshmallows are made with beef or pork gelatin, but you can get ones made with plant-based gelatin if you look a little. Before you get started, make sure your night manager is available for supervision. It won't work without him, and the ritual will fail, and the old ones will be angry. Now, we're going to start with making the pie shell. Preheat your oven to 350 degrees, and in a medium bowl, toss together the cookie crumbs and the melted butter until all the crumbs are thoroughly moistened. Ask the night manager if he approves of your progress, or if another sacrifice must be made to appease him. If he says you're good, feel free to continue. If he doesn't approve, he's a nice guy and he'll give you a 5-minute head start. With your manager's approval, press the mixture into the bottom and sides of a 9.5-inch pie dish pan. Refrigerate your crust for at least 15 minutes to let the butter firm up. Bake the crust in the oven for 10 minutes, or until it's set and fragrant. Once it's done, take it out and let it cool until it's room temperature. Now let's move on to the filling. In a chilled medium mixing bowl, using a mixer, go ahead and beat the heavy cream on high speed until firm peaks appear. Refrigerate your whipped cream until needed. Next, in a large mixing bowl, using the mixer again, beat the cream cheese on medium speed until it's smooth. Then go ahead and add the condensed milk, vanilla, and salt. Once more, use your mixer to beat till smooth. Then fold in the coconut, pineapple, oranges, and pecan pieces. Last of all, fold in the whipped cream you had made earlier. Pour the filling into your pie shell, then go ahead and put it in the refrigerator to chill for 4 hours or until it is set. Once your pie is chilled, you can decorate the top with your colorful marshmallows. Ooh, look how pretty it is! Now, while we give our pie a minute, let's head over to my office. Hi there, welcome to as Christmassy as the set gets. Please clap. I tried.
I like the lights. Yeah, well, 'tis the season. Whatever that means.
If you know me, you know I love some doomed Yuri. And it's not like queer cannibal romance isn't a thing, it's actually got a pretty deep pool to draw from. We have current examples in Yellow Jackets, Jennifer's Body, Hannibal, Bones and All, and in anime, the deeply, deeply weird Yurikuma Arashi. The precedent for this, of course, was set by works like Carmilla. Now, if you want to argue with me about the semantics of whether vampires are cannibals, if you eat humans, even just part of the human, for example, their blood, it's a form of cannibalism. I'm sorry, it just is. Well, coming with its own problematic connotations, as is always the case when monsters are used as an analogy for queer otherness, cannibalism can make sense as a metaphor for queer love and desire. Lesbian desire becomes so all-consuming for teenage girls that it eventually erupts in homoerotic cannibalistic acts. They eat, attempt to eat, or mimic eating the girls they desire. Cannibalism, then, becomes the means by which queer girls articulate their lesbian desires. It sanctions their identities as queer people, while casting a shadow of monstrosity over their existence, an echo of the ostracism queer people face in the real world. Coupled with this, beyond the ideal version set forth by Hans Christian Andersen and later Disney, there is a rich history of mermaids as monstrous. From the sirens of the Odyssey, who served to lure men to their deaths, a topic I discuss more at length in my Possibly Michigan video, to Japan's traditional, albeit less cute, demon mermaids known as Ningyo and Akugyo, who are carnivorous monster women with either the upper body or just the face of a woman and the rest fish, often pictured with horns or fangs. Except for the ones that are part monkey. I don't want to talk about that. I don't like monkeys. In more modern monster mermaid tales, still in Japan, we have the example of Mermaid Forest by Ranma 1/2 and Inuyasha creator Rumiko Takahashi, a horror manga featuring mermaids that can appear as beautiful women only to turn into terrifying monsters, which I do recommend if you want another piece of good mermaid monster girl horror. And elsewhere in the world, we have the Polish horror film Lure, and that truly god-awful looking public domain Little Mermaid slasher, because this is truly the worst timeline. And the public domain horror slashers are proof of that. But anyway, moving right along. At the intersection of the classical and modern tales of mermaid horror, this monster wants to eat me sits comfortably. Shiiori, our titular monster, morphs easily between a beautiful girl who first draws our heroine Hinako in with her eyes that look like the ocean, and being a giant monster with shark-like teeth and antlers made out of coral. Opposite her, Our heroine Hinako is a seemingly average girl with near crippling depression, which is depicted beautifully in both the anime and manga as being underwater. The anime's realistic and nuanced depiction of depression is part of what hooked me from the start. The sea is a recurring symbol of sadness and death, but also of beauty and escape, a theme Hinako sees mirrored in Shiiori. And for all the potential this anime has to have become a deeply toxic Yuri, beneath all the considerable gore and horror, the heart of This Monster Wants to Eat Me is actually a beautiful and deeply sad love story, which is really what I'm here to talk about. Now, the manga and anime are still ongoing, and I'm going to primarily focus on Hinako and Shiiori and what elements affect their relationship, so this won't cover absolutely everything, also since it's not even over yet, but I will spoil an awful lot of what is out, so if you want to go into this series completely blind, not having anything spoiled for you at all, jump to the timestamp below. For everyone else who's still here, let's get into it. We open on depressed girl Hinako. She walks to school lamenting how much she hates summer, which, same, when she is distracted by what appears to be something rising out of the ocean. She leans over a guardrail to see more clearly, only to be pulled back by a girl with eyes like the sea. It's already very straight. Hinako says she wasn't going to fall, and the girl apologizes, saying she thought she meant to jump. Hinako is really offended and huffs off to school, thinking how odd this really pretty ocean girl is. At school, we're introduced to Hinako's best friend Miko. It's established through commentary from Hinako's classmates that Miko is fiercely protective to the point of borderline infantilizing Hinako. At the end of the school day, Miko is stopped by a classmate due to needing to do some makeup work for classes she's missed. Miko is distraught since she was about to walk home with Hinako, but Hinako agrees to wait while Miko finishes her after-school work so they can still walk home together. While debating how to kill time until Miko is free, Hinako feels a strange pull like something is drawing her towards the ocean. And before she even realizes she's done it, she's run to a walkway overlooking the sea. Shaking herself out of her stupor, she turns to return back to school, only to find long strands of black hair twisting around her ankle that pull her towards the sea. Emerging from the water is a monstrous woman, who was the disturbance in the ocean that Hinako saw this morning. The monster drags Hinako under the water with the intent of eating her, but Hinako isn't terrified by this. If anything, she's relieved. Which is when we learn that Hinako has wanted to die for years, and this feels like a blessing actually. But no sooner do we get that knowledge than Hinako is pulled to safety by the pretty girl she ran into that morning. When challenged by the monster in the water, the girl becomes monstrous herself and brutally dismembers the monster who had been intent on eating Hinako. Covered in sea monster gore, the girl identifies herself as Shiiori, a mermaid who's been looking for Hinako for a while. She too, apparently, is intent on eating Hinako. Shiiori informs Hinako that she has a scent that draws monsters to her and makes them want to consume her. But Shiiori tells her that she'll be more delicious as time passes, so until she reaches peak taste, Shiiori will protect her from any other monster until she's ready to eat Hinako herself. Hinako, surprisingly, is overjoyed by this prospect, since Shiiori promises a chance at death. Shiiori says that Hinako will see her again soon before walking away, leaving Hinako to process all this. The next day at school, Miko is absent due to a cold, and Hinako's homeroom teacher announces the arrival of a new transfer student, a beautiful girl with long blue hair and eyes like the sea, who introduces herself as Shiiori Omi, the mermaid from the day before. A few days later, when Miko returns to school, she hates Shiiori immediately, namely because she seems to have appeared out of nowhere and already appears to be close with Hinako. Some time passes, and Shiiori invites Hinako to the summer festival under the pretense that life experiences will make her taste better. At first, Hinako is fine, but she quickly becomes overwhelmed by the volume of people and the numerous flashbacks she has and runs. When Shiiori eventually finds her, Hinako is sitting alone and crying, unknowing of a minor demon coming to try and eat her. Shiiori quickly eviscerates it, and Hinako demands to know if Shiiori ever does plan on eating her or if she's just yanking her around. Shiiori assures her that she does, she's just waiting, but while we're on the subject, Hinako, why do you want to die so bad? This is when we learn that when she was 6 years old, Hinako's entire family was killed when their car swerved off the road and sunk into the sea, with only Hinako being thrown free and left as the sole survivor. She claims she's lived this long because on that night she swore she could hear the voices of her family telling her that she has to survive. So she has. So then when she met Shiiori, she thought she would finally have an escape. Shiiori explains to her that humans that long for death have an unpleasant taste and smell, and tells her that her advice is to live her life and find joy, and only when she's found hope and happiness will Shiiori finally eat her. And basically to get on that quickly if Hinako wants that to happen anytime soon. Shiiori says that they should return to the festival, but Hinako is concerned because they're both covered in the blood of the minor demon Shiiori just massacred. But Shiiori tells her that it's okay because normal humans won't be able to see demon blood. Put a pin in that. After school the next day, while they're on cleanup duty, Hinako asks that Shiiori doesn't tell Miko that they went to the festival together because it would hurt Miko's feelings. Shiiori doesn't really get what the problem is, but Hinako explains that Miko is very important to her, since she's the only person who didn't treat Hinako like she was made of glass after her family's accident. Shiiori is still like, yeah, I don't get what the problem is, but agrees since this seems to be important to Hinako. Hinako leaves to throw away trash, and Shiiori has to dispatch yet another small monster that Hinako didn't even see coming after her. This leaves the courtyard covered in demon blood, which shouldn't be too big of a problem since normal humans can't see it anyway and it'll eventually burn off. But here's Miko, and she can see it, which means Miko must also be a monster of some sort, who definitely clocked Shiiori from the moment she came in. But before it can become a kaiju battle, Hinako comes back and they have to act casual. But Shiiori is determined to get to the bottom of this. There's something off about Miko, but supposedly she's been Hinako's friend since childhood and doesn't seem to outright smell like a monster. So Shiiori does what any of us would do in her situation, and steals the student registry for the school to get Miko's file. Finding what she was looking for, she finds the other girls and confronts Miko. She gives Miko the opportunity to come clean, and when she stays silent, Shiiori asks Hinako, how much does she know about Miko? They've been friends since childhood, right? What's her mom's name? Have you ever been to her house? Does she have siblings? What's her home phone number? And Hinako starts to realize that she doesn't know any of this. She should. These are normal things to know about your best friend, but she doesn't. Which is when Shiiori holds up Miko's file that she pulled from the register, and the information on it slowly disappears. She explains that it's common for monsters to use magic like this to seamlessly slip into society unnoticed. Shiiori muses that Miko must be some sort of washed-up local deity. Yay! It's Salem! This causes Miko to snap and revert to her true form, a giant fox demon, and they square off again with Shiiori partially transforming to fight her. Hinako gets in the middle of it, and of course gets herself mildly hurt in the process, forcing Miko to transform back into her human form to avoid the urge to eat her that the spell of her blood has caused. We then get a small exposition dump about what Miko's whole deal is. She was a fox demon who was captured by a monk and forced into serving the humans of the village. As the time went by, her actual origins were forgotten, and locals thought of her as a minor god called Okitsune-sama, and erected a small shrine to her. As time passed, she became a local deity that the townfolk would offer prayers to for good luck, including Hinako's family praying for a safe trip the day they left on the vacation that would end with Hinako as the only survivor. Not being an actual god, Miko didn't have the power to save them, but since Hinako survived, she vowed to make sure that Hinako grew up safe and took on her human form to be her protector. So up until now, she's been the one making sure that nothing has eaten Hinako, though many things have tried to. An emotional scene follows where Hinako says she doesn't care who Miko is, she's still her friend, and Miko, in kitsune form, bites off two of her tails to diminish her own powers and make herself more human, also making her less tempted by the smell of Hinako, who, though she has been protecting her, has definitely been tempted to eat the last 10 years. Because she's been weakened, A, by not having eaten humans in centuries, and B, by biting off two of her tails which contain her power, Miko reaches a sort of uneasy truce with Shiiori, since she needs Shiori's help to continue to keep Hinako safe. She also tells Shiiori that demons didn't start to become obsessed with Hinako's scent until after the car accident. Something seemed to change about her physically that drew in the monsters. We skip forward a little and see Shiiori and Hinako on what is definitely a date, even if it doesn't outright say it. They go to the sea, and even though Hinako doesn't want to go swimming or be in a bathing suit, they still have a good time getting snacks and shopping at the little shops around the sea. A freak rainstorm hits, and Shiiori decides they need to put as much space between them and the beach as possible. And it's clear there is something ominous about this unplanned rainstorm, which is when Hinako spots the exact thing Shiiori was trying to hide from her. There are thousands of corpse-like arms coming out of the ocean, reaching. Shiiori covers Hinako's eyes and tells her it's something humans aren't meant to see, but Hinako wants to know what they are. Shiiori tells her that when humans die in the ocean, their lingering grudges and regrets form into these things that are not quite human and not quite monster, looking to hurt the way they had been hurt, beckoning people to the sea. Hinako is concerned that her family might be one of these things, but doesn't see them. They take shelter from the storm, and Shiori is concerned that Hinako will catch cold in her soaking overshirt, but Hinako refuses to remove it, getting upset when Shiori tells her to. In doing so, she causes part of the garment to fall away, exposing the extensive burn scars across her arms and shoulders. Hinako is afraid this will ruin their deal since Shiori would now find her unappetizing, but Shiori convinces her this isn't the case, and we start to get an inkling here that, beyond just thinking she's pretty, Hinako might be feeling some sort of way about Shiori. We cut forward in time a bit, and Miko is begging Hinako to come with her as a helper on the girls' basketball team trip. Part of Miko being a local deity is that she feels like she needs to help everyone, so she's in tons of clubs and extracurriculars. But anyway, they'd had people drop out and are short-handed for help. Hinako eventually agrees if Shiori can come along too. Miko isn't pleased, because see above, they hate each other, but agrees reluctantly. Hinako plus Fish Girl is better than no Hinako at all. At the camp, Miko is, of course, practicing, and Shiiori gets tasked with moving a lot of heavy things because the head of the camp is really impressed by how freakishly strong this pretty dainty girl is. Meanwhile, Hinako is assigned kitchen duty, with a woman named Ayame, who is somewhere in her mid to late 20s but gives off strong mom vibes, and Hinako instantly likes her. Shiiori, on the other hand, is wary, talking to Miko on the side and saying they should keep an eye on Ayame because she has a strange scent to her, somewhat similar to the one humans who want to die have, but she can't put her finger on it. That evening, the girls from the basketball team are going to take a communal bath and invite Hinako along, who panics because of the scars she doesn't want people to know she has. Shiiori lies and tells everyone that her and Hinako have a few more managerial tasks to complete and that they'll take their bath later. Shiiori easily cops to this being a lie when they're alone, and Hinako wants to know why Shiiori is so kind to her if she just plans to eat her. Shiiori is evasive and just claims that it's for her own benefit and she wouldn't be friends with food, and then leaves Hinako, who is obviously a little upset that the girl who she has a crush on and also wants to eat her is being so cold. Ayame finds Hinako sitting in her sad gay vor feelings and asks her to come help in the kitchen. While Hinako is helping out, she does the thing we were all afraid of in grade school and accidentally calls her teacher mom. Ayame finds this amusing and says she was a stepmother actually, a long time ago, but that child is long dead, which is when Hinako finds the axe that Ayame just casually has lying around. Ayame is like, oh how silly of me, let me put that somewhere safe. But as she is, Hinako hears a voice asking her if she knows how much it would hurt to be cut by a rusty axe. This is when she sees the giant mouth in the back of Ayame's head. While this whole thing has been going on, Miko and Shiiori have been talking, since Miko realized that Shiiori had lied for Hinako's benefit, which means she must also know about the scars. They have the first somewhat pleasant conversation they've had because they're bonding over their mutual favorite topic, Hinako. But then they sense the presence of a monster that had clearly been hiding under their noses. Miko grudgingly has to keep the rest of the camp girls safe and distracted so none of them fall prey to the monster, while Shiiori runs to save Hinako. Meanwhile, Ayame has chased Hinako into the woods, and she trips because, of course she does, oh my god, Noah's here! Noah! Hi! Look who's here! My handsome bear! Where are you going? Meanwhile, Ayame has chased Hinako into the woods, and she trips because, of course she does, it's horror. The girl always trips while being pursued by a monster. So when she's standing over her ready to strike, Ayame explains that she was able to remain undetected because she had started out as human and changed into this due to unfortunate circumstances. She claims she doesn't usually eat humans, and normally wouldn't, especially when she has sensed a mermaid and a minor deity in the vicinity, but Hinako just smells amazing, so it's cheat day. Hinako defends herself as best she can and gets a shallow cut on her arm, that Ayame uses her giant disgusting tongue to taste her blood via, and is shocked. He's back. And is shocked. Hinako's blood tastes strange to her, and she realizes it's because mermaid blood is mixed in there, meaning she would have been given Shiori's blood at some point. Ayame doesn't have long to be like, whoopsie, didn't know you belonged to another monster, before Shiori appears to absolutely beat the tar out of her. Ayame tries to apologize to Shiori, saying she would never have done so if she'd known Hinako was Shiori's. She never gets to finish that statement because Shiori fully transforms into her full monster form and rips her apart with her big mermaid monster hands. Rather than being terrified of Shiori in her full monster form, Hinako thinks she looks oddly familiar. The next day, Shiori is being avoidant, and Hinako finds that no one remembers Ayame at all, which Miko tells her is pretty normal since monsters are something that aren't supposed to exist in their world, so when they die, everything about them is erased. Despite that, later in the day, Ayame returns to apologize to Hinako since she didn't know she belonged to someone else. She explains that all her energy is stored in her head, and as long as that isn't destroyed, she can always come back. But before she leaves, Hinako asks Ayame to explain what she meant the night before about mermaid blood being mixed in with her own. Ayame tells her that it must have happened a long time ago, which is why she didn't detect it sooner, and that it's odd to have promised oneself to a human through a gift of blood. Hinako is like, wait, what? No, that's ridiculous. Shiori's only hanging around me so she can eat me. And Ayame is like, that'd be pretty weird if that was the case, because if a monster gives someone their blood, that person becomes unfit for eating, like you would taste terrible to her if she ate you. Hinako thinks that can't possibly be true. They have a deal, and there's no other possible reason that Shiori would want to be hanging around with her unless she wants to eat her. But Shiori is avoiding her like the plague, clearly uncomfortable both about the news that she gave Hinako blood at some point, and that Hinako has seen her monster form. She manages to catch Shiori one day after school and demands to know what Ayame meant by that. Is it true that Shiori gave her blood? How long could Shiiori have given her her blood? Have they met before? Does she even still plan on eating her? Shiiori admits that it's true, she did give her her blood, and she admits the smell of Hinako's blood nauseates her to the point that she couldn't eat her. Shiiori tells Hinako that they actually met 10 years ago during her family's last vacation, and that she'd given her her blood because she'd owed her a debt. When she'd done it, she infused it with a blessing, a wish that no matter what, Hinako would grow up strong and not lose her light, and that no matter what, she would survive. This is the reason that Hinako survived the accident that killed the rest of her family. Hinako was furious. It's Shiori's fault that she lived when her family didn't. Furthermore, their entire relationship up to this point has been built on a lie, since Shiiori doesn't seem to really intend to eat her. She tells Shiiori that she really is a monster, and leaves her to sit in her sad gay feelings in the rain. Miko finds her, and at Shiori's request, they go out the next day to talk without Hinako present. We get Shiori's backstory now. A long time ago, she used to live in a cave by the sea. Times were hard, and sometimes villagers would abandon their children at the mouth of the cave. And of course, not wanting to be ungrateful of these offerings, she ate them all. But there was one child who came to her this way that she couldn't bring herself to eat, because the child had the same rotten smell of someone who longed to die. The child ended up taking up residence in the cave with her, and they sort of became used to each other. But after a few years, the tide started to change, so Shiiori needed to find somewhere new to take up residence. But before she left, she gave the little girl a piece of her flesh as a gift, thinking this would make her happy, since mermaid's flesh is said to grant immortality. It didn't. It actually made her super mad, and after several attempts, the girl succeeded in blowing both her and Shiiori up with gunpowder. This was apparently enough to kill the girl, but while Shiori's body was partially destroyed, she survived, floating on the ocean like kelp until she could regenerate. After multiple decades, she ended up in the shallow recesses of an island, the place Hinako was visiting as a child. Despite being in full monster form, Hinako wasn't afraid when she found her and was mostly just concerned about if Shiiori was injured or needed help. Each day of the vacation, Hinako snuck food to Shiiori and she recovered quickly because of it. This was the first time Shiiori had actually felt something about a human that wasn't hunger, and she wanted to protect her. So as mentioned earlier, she gave her her blood so she would be kept safe as she grew up. But also in that blessing made sure Hinako forgot that they'd ever met. Years later, Shiiori became aware of other monsters that desired to eat Hinako, so she used their blood connection to come ashore and find Hinako, bringing us to the beginning of the story. She found her on the bridge, no longer sweet and vibrant, but longing for death. Meanwhile, this whole thing has sent Hinako into an even more depressive state, and when walking to school in the rain the next morning, she again sees the arms reaching up out of the sea. And this is when she decides she's done, and comes to it when it beckons her. Shiiori is able to pull her back just in time, and at first is furious that Hinako is going to give her life to that gross, lowly thing in the sea, but she realizes her anger is misplaced, and she really does need to say something to Hinako. She apologizes for lying to her, and tells her that when they met again, she couldn't just let her die, so she tempted Hinako with what she truly wanted, lying about how she was going to kill her, basically to keep her alive. The talk goes really poorly, with Hinako not wanting to listen and her will to live gone, and ends in Shiiori making a blood pact with her that if she agrees to be truly happy and smile again, then, even though she's inedible, Shiiori will still kill her and eat her one day. Even though the idea of it breaks her heart, she doesn't want Hinako to do it herself, and she doesn't want to let any other monster do it. They seal the promise with another blood bond, and Shiiori kisses her. She bites Hinako's lip as she does so, and crying tells her, "Yeah, you taste terrible." Sometime later, Hinako is visiting her parents' grave on the anniversary of their death. Despite being told that she shouldn't, Shiiori follows Hinako to the graveyard and asks her why she visits the stones. Hinako replies that even though she knows that they are just grave markers, she still wants to come because she doesn't want to believe her family is truly gone from this world. Shiiori, in a moment of vulnerability, tells Hinako she can't stand the thought of a world without her, and the only thing being left of her being some rocks, to which Hinako smiles and says, "Don't worry, you'll eat me, and then we'll always be together." And this is more or less the grim state we currently leave them in. Hinako happy in the promise of being devoured, and Shiiori racked with despair because she knows that ultimately she is promised to kill and eat the woman she loves whether she wants to or not. So, there's an awful lot to unpack here. While the main theme, obviously, is cannibalism, which believe me, we're going to get to, there is, more metaphorically, the emotional ways in which consuming and being consumed is conveyed. Hinako herself is consumed by grief. It encompasses all facets of her life, leaving her feeling hollow and underwater. She is being so eaten whole by her own despair that she's oblivious to tons of things that are clearly in front of her. Until the point at the beginning of the series with the Iso Onna nearly dragging Hinako to her death before Shiiori intervenes, Hinako has never noticed the ever-present danger she's in. It's established that for years prior to this, Miko has been having to fight off the demons that wish to consume Hinako, And it's shown that Hinako herself does have the capability to see demons, because she does see the Inso Onna and the Reaching Hands, as well as various other demons Shiiori has to dispatch. So it stands to reason then that her grief is so all-consuming that she doesn't see them not because she can't, but because she doesn't care enough to. Both Miko, and to a more severe extent Shiiori, are consumed by their love of Hinako to the point of obsession. Miko is established to be a sort of local god who has ties to the whole community, and Shiiori, while alone, is established to be an incredibly powerful being whose sacrifices were offered up to. But both forego safety and comfort to attend to Hinako's safety and whims, completely disregarding everything else to keep her safe. And while on Miko's end, this could be seen as a more familial type of devotion, since a lot of it stems from her affection for Hinako's family and her guilt at not being able to save them, it is her love for and obsession with Hinako herself that consumes Shiiori to the point that she becomes something completely different from what she's meant to be. More on that later, though. Because I don't really need to lean too heavily on metaphorical cannibalism for a piece of media that's whole basis is predicated on a love story between a girl who desires to be eaten and the girl who is going to do that eating. And there are two angles to look at that from: Hinako's desire to be eaten versus Shiiori, who will consume the person she loves. Hinako desires to be eaten not just as an escape from life, though it does start as that, but as an act of love. There's the obvious facet of food being the ultimate giver of life and nourishment, so in giving yourself to your lover to be eaten, you are in turn nourishing and bringing life to them. But beyond is the promise of completely belonging and never being alone. It's established in the story that Hinako has been on her own for the 10 years since the accident that claimed the lives of her brother and parents. She has an out-of-town aunt who occasionally visits and checks in, but she lives alone. Hinako's existence when we first meet her is deeply lonely. She's lost her family, and her grief further alienates her, as most people, with the exception of Miko, don't know how to interact with her, so they simply don't. Being consumed by Shiiori is an end to that loneliness. Not just in the sense that she'd no longer be alive, but she wouldn't be alone. She'd become a part of Shiiori that she would carry with her forever. She'd never be lonely again because she would always be with Shiiori. This is much like the analysis by Mina Tobya of Ethel Cain's album Preacher's Daughter that tells the story of a girl whose hard life ultimately culminates in her being seemingly willingly killed and eaten by her lover. She loves him so much that she wants to belong to him, but loses ownership of herself in the process. It's almost a holy experience for her to remain a part of him, even from beyond the grave. This isn't even about her spirit, which watches from above and cannot belong to her lover. He can only have the flesh. It speaks to the carnal human desire to be touched and remain impossibly close to another person. To a girl who's been nearly completely alone for a decade, you can see the appeal of the promise of always being close to the person she loves, with no possibility of ever being parted from them. But on the opposite side of being eaten, we have the eater, Shiiori. There's a long-standing tradition of cannibalism being used as a metaphor for all-consuming love. To be so obsessed with someone that it isn't enough just to be near them, you have to devour them. And this is initially the angle that Shiori's affections seem to take at the beginning of the series. We don't learn her true motives and desires for a while, so when we first meet her, she seems to be obsessed with the idea of eating Hinako and it being tied to almost a sort of possession, since she states that she won't let any other monster devour her. This is what she hides her protectiveness behind, the idea that it's basically to keep her food safe until she's ready for it. Much like Hinako's desire is the ultimate form of belonging to someone, taken from this angle, eating someone is the ultimate form of possessing them. Much like we see in cult hit and Jesus, one of the best shows I've ever watched, Yellow Jackets, Shauna is obsessed with and possibly in love with her best friend Jackie. And while after Jackie's death, she is eaten by her whole soccer team. This isn't a spoiler, guys, that show tells you from the jump that those girls are going to eat each other. But prior to that, Shauna keeps Jackie's corpse on ice, talking to her, being haunted by her, because she wants to be haunted by her. And ultimately, before anyone else even gets a chance to, Shauna devours part of Jackie's ear to ensure she has a piece of her, and that Jackie can't ever be fully taken away from her, even by death, because Jackie effectively belongs to Shauna now. At first, we think this is the route we're going to be taking with Shiiori, that she's so obsessed with and so all-consumingly in love with Hinako, her love translates to need to trap her inside of herself, keep her where, like Jackie, she can always haunt her, because Hinako can't leave. As described beautifully in the essay Eat and Be Eaten, Love and Be Loved, on the macabre beauty of the cannibalism metaphor and love as something to be consumed, how utterly romantic the idea of knitting your body into that of your lover, into their blood, their stomach, between their teeth, where every fiber of your being enmeshed into one another. Your body as a final resting place for the one you love, the consumption allowing them to transform your body into a haunted house, a tomb, or simply a new home in a final act of divine devotion. But as the story progresses, we learn this isn't the case at all. Shiiori doesn't really want to eat Hinako at all. In fact, even if she did, Hinako would taste so repulsive she'd be practically inedible. While prior to this revelation, Shiiori grandly claims that everything she's done is for her own selfish means, to keep her meal safe, like locking up your food so bears don't get it. That's a thing, right? I don't camp. I don't know if you can tell this by looking at me, but I'm not outdoorsy. Shocker, right? But anyway, as the story develops, Shiiori's motive has been to keep Hinako safe because she loves her and wants to protect her, not because she views her as food. And so she really doesn't want to eat her, which makes her promise to do so an even bigger act of love and sacrifice. This isn't just putting Hinako's wishes above her own, it's making the sacrifice of losing the only person she's ever cared about for the sake of that person's happiness. Confronted with the idea of either Hinako immediately taking her own life or Shiiori buying more time with her by promising to be the one that will eventually do the killing, she chooses the second option. While Hinako's goals are to end loneliness, Shiiori, in this act of love, is consigning herself to an eternity of nothing but loneliness. If devouring Hinako is the only thing that will make her happy, and the only way to do it, she will, even though it will cause her both physical and mental pain. In this respect, although Shiiori is the monster, the cannibal, the eater in this scenario, she does it out of love, not desire. So while we initially drew comparisons to the obsessive love of Shauna and Jackie in Yellow Jackets, what I truly found their situation to mirror most closely is the film version of Bones and All. I'm about to spoil the end of Bones and All, so jump ahead a bit if you need to. In the film's ending, Lee, after being fatally injured, begs Marin to eat him. She doesn't want to, even though Marin has eaten tons of people over the course of the film. Lee is different, and she's horrified that the person she loves is asking this of her. But he frames it as an act of love, the last act of love she can give him as his dying wish. So Marin sacrifices her own desires to fulfill his, to be with him in some way, even if it's posthumously, and devours him, bones and all. In both the cases of Marin and Shiiori, the act of eating is less an act of possession as it is one of devotion and sacrifice. Neither wants to devour the person they love, but it's what the person they love wants, and that is what they place above their own desire and comfort. As expressed by Sarah Mallory Vamvounis in her essay Devoted, Desiring, Devouring, Cannibalistic Queer Female Intimacies, in recognizing the love and grief within cannibalism, the cannibal loses a statically loathsome characterization. Cannibal love, while imperfect, displays the intimacy and closeness of the eater and the eaten. While this monster wants to eat me is still very much horror, the way in which the act of eating is framed instead as an act of love reduces the horror of the act itself. It instead becomes something of devotion and deep, deep sadness. But beyond just cannibalism, there's a literary parallel to be seen in this story too. Even though Shiiori is seen as monstrous and is even referred to by Hinako as not being like the beautiful mermaid princesses of her childhood storybooks when she's in her monster form, and while she is more akin to the Japanese Ningyo or Akugyo, parallels can be drawn between her and the traditional tale of Hans Christian Andersen's Little Mermaid. Both are tales of love and what we're willing to sacrifice for the people we love, and the lengths we'll go to keep them safe. The Little Mermaid and Shiiori both watch and love the object of their affection from afar, and both must sacrifice in order to meet them. The Little Mermaid must give up her voice and endure the pain of feeling like she's walking on knives with each step she takes. Shiiori literally gives up a piece of herself to Hinako, sacrificing the memory of the time they spent together for Hinako's own good, as well as abandoning her own nature, much like the Little Mermaid, to appear as an ordinary human for the person she loves. And both are tales of tragedy as much as they are about love. The Little Mermaid's prince marries another woman, and rather than kill him to regain her tail, she jumps to her death to keep him safe. While somewhat flipped in regard to safety, Shiiori is bound to the promise that she will one day kill Hinako. In order to make her true love happy, she is damning herself to a future of misery and loneliness. This is further apt as it applies to a queer love story, as The Little Mermaid, at its roots, was always queer. Denmark's treasure and bisexual human disaster Hans Christian Andersen wrote The Little Mermaid as therapy. He had fallen in love with a man who did not return his affections. Andersen wrote countless love letters to him, telling him, "My sentiments for you are those of a woman." This was all completely one-sided, and the object of his affections went on to marry a woman, leaving Andersen devastated. So, much like Edgar Allan Poe wrote most of his work to deal with his feelings for his 13-year-old cousin,
Stop it. Get some help.
Andersen wrote The Little Mermaid to deal with this experience of queer unrequited love. With that context in mind, it's easy to see the queer allegory there. In the story, Andersen is the mermaid, someone othered and from a different world. She loses her voice and is unable to speak to the prince, much as Andersen was unable to convey his feelings truly. And in the end, the prince chooses what could be seen as a conventional heterosexual marriage over life with an other, mirroring Andersen's own devastation at the man he loved choosing to marry a woman and ultimately leave him behind. So, Shiiori, joining this already fairly historical context of queer mermaids, makes sense. Even if her sacrifice doesn't involve turning to sea foam, it does still involve losing the person she loves to what would make them happiest. The full extent of how tragic Shiori's tale is yet to be seen, as the manga is still being written, and the anime is only in its first season, but looking at the overall tone of the work, it's not far-fetched to expect that this story, too, will end in tragedy. Sorry to end this section on kind of a bummer note. Who wants pie? Don't be sad, we have pie. It's really good pie too. I promise, it's one of my wife's favorite things I've ever made. Even if it kinda doesn't hold its shape once you try and dish it up for yourself. What do you guys think? Want to try your hand at making this pie? Do you have a favorite work of doomed Yuri or monster girl love? Drop your thoughts on the work, the food, and what your favorite piece of mermaid-themed media is in the comments below. Recipe, recommendations, and sources are listed in the description below. And hey, if you enjoyed your stay here, maybe you'd think about liking and subscribing to see what we cook up next. And if you want to go even further, we've got a Patreon! A lot goes on in front of and behind the camera to make these videos, and every little bit helps us keep the lights on in the diner and the gas on in the stoves. Patrons get fun perks like getting episodes early, access to the Horror Diner Discord, and possibly even exclusive cat pictures. And patrons of $5 or more get to be part of the Horror Diner Book Club, where every month you vote a book for me to cover and you can read along with me, and then I make an exclusive video on that just for you on Patreon. We've covered things like Bitterthorn by Kat Dunn, We Used to Live Here by Marcus Kluwer, What Hunger by Catherine Dang, and The Sound of the Dark by Daniel Church. It's fun! You can find that linked in the description as well as links to where you can find us on Instagram, Bluesky, and TikTok. This has been This Monster Wants to Eat Me. I've been Spooky Pie, and you have been amazing. Y'all come back now, you hear? I'm attempting to make the lights all oceany. I don't know if it worked or not. I just spilled my coffee. You see my mug has Ariel on it? This is the only kind of mermaid mug I could find. I swear to God I had a mug with mermaids on it. Those are some crazy eyeballs, huh, Lucas? Yuki. Yuki, wanna come see Krampus? Wanna come see Krampus, Nunu? Come on, baby. Come on, Luke. Yay! What do you think of that? What do you think of that? Look, everyone, it's Salem! That evening, the girls from the Bye. What are my bangs doing? I had to move a pumpkin to the ground, and Noah just thinks it's the best thing ever, and he's just rubbing his gums all over it. Hello, handsome. We have a very special guest today. It's Noah. Or at least it's gonna be Noah's butt as he looks out this window. Furthermore, their entire relationship up to this point has been built on a lie. Bye, Noah. Hinako herself is consumed by Salem! Well, I'm gonna drink my coffee for a minute and hope this all blows over. It's so cute. I think the sun is setting soon. It's okay. We're in the ending stretch. I don't remember how long this thing I wrote was. I was very tired when I wrote it.